Well, hey there, my name's Luke, and you're listening to the Good Folks Doing Good Work podcast, a podcast where I interview folks all throughout the coffee supply circle about the good they're trying to bring into the world and hopefully remind you to keep bringing good things into this world in your context. Let's get into this week's podcast. Well, today I have the privilege of chatting with Adam Shaw, who is the co-owner and director of coffee at Deeper Roots Coffee in Cincinnati, Ohio. Drawing on his background in engineering and product development, he uses business as a tool to bridge the gap between specialty coffee and global sustainability. Adam is dedicated to helping producers build economically resilient businesses while championing ecologically sound agricultural practices. At Deeper Roots, he blends technical precision with a passion for international development to create a better, more ethical coffee supply chain. Known for great hair, great style, and coffee that's quite tasty. All the way from Ohio, welcome to the Good Folks podcast, Adam.
Hey, man. It's good to see you.
Likewise. So you just celebrated 14 years of being in business and
Yes, sir.
4 locations, one on the way, a roastery. Let's say you could mail yourself a card to yourself 14 years ago with just one sentence on it. What are you writing to yourself 14 years ago?
Don't be impatient. It's going to go slow. It's sort of is the vibe. We got the idea off the ground in 2011, got Roastery fired up in 2012. And I guess 2012, 2013 was like the height of hipster coffee. You know what I mean? I mean, the Handsome Coffees of the world, the Blue Bottles are still ripping. And we're like getting started. And I'm like, oh man, like I actually know these people from competition days and they seem like they're exploding. And we are not. And we never have. We've never like exploded, I think, despite what maybe some local people think that we're everywhere, even though we're not. I think I was also 24 and just like ready to like go. And it's just been a slow, consistent. It's been like super consistent. I think there are a ton of businesses out there that wishes they could grow as fast as we do. So I don't take that for granted, but I would have told the 24-year-old me like, chill, it's going to go slow.
Yeah. That's a really, really good word for, I think, anybody, because what you don't see behind, I mean, in 2012, Blue Bottle and those folks had been already going for a while. And that's the thing you don't see is like when things come into your awareness, you don't see what's been building behind the scenes for 5, 10, 15 years.
Yeah.
That's a good word.
Truly. And a lot of those people who built these like explosive brands in that time had done a tenure at Intelli or Blue Bottle or something, like a lot of them from Intelli. So we were coming off that sort of legacy of intelligentsia, wearing their matching track jackets to all the competitions and just cleaning house. But those guys spent years getting their coffee to taste good, getting the baristas dialed in. Naive me was just like, oh, we could do that. We could do that tomorrow.
When you start something, especially a coffee roasting company, for you to get good coffee, there's so many things that have to happen simultaneously at the same time that you have to be good at, that you have to understand the working elements of it. Just getting your feel of running a business takes a very, very long time.
And you don't even know what you don't know. Like you don't even, like you get started and you're like, yeah, we know. And then it becomes very clear, like you have no idea.
Yeah. I had a conversation with somebody who's doing some coaching for some younger cafe owners. And I was telling him, I was like, man, you really need to make sure that the folks that are coming up understand where they come from. Because the Intellis, the Blue Bottles, the Stumptowns of the world, it's really important for them to understand how they got there to help them build a perspective of how long it takes to actually build something that matters. And so I really appreciate that. Be patient. It's going to go slow.
And some of the ones, I mean, some can explode overnight, but how many of them are still around?
Right.
I bet none of them, or they've sold off and morphed. And, I guess it depends on what you're in for. If you want to take VC money and try to make an explosive brand and cash out, that's one thing. But if you're trying to build a company with longevity that gives people employment, that offers benefits, that can work with farmers for nearly a lifetime, that never happens explosively. It's like trying to make a best friend overnight. Like that doesn't work.
Time.
Time.
And really quickly, I have 3 things I want to share with you. Number 1, I run a consulting firm called Pomelo Coffee Consulting, and I only work with coffee roasters, and I help them with 3 things: their people, their processes, and their profit. Now, within Pomelo, I also run a cohort for owners. There's some learning opportunities, there's some reading opportunities, there's some hot seat sections, and I got to tell you, it's been pretty amazing to see what's possible when a group of owners are sharing the things that they're facing, both the good things and the bad things, and providing some camaraderie and also a mirror to see that I'm not alone in this world, in this business. And there's people who are doing similar things, maybe have already done the things that I'm doing and that I'm facing. If that sounds interesting to you and you want to find some other roasters and have some camaraderie with them, you can go to my website, pomelocoffeeconsulting.com, go to the Junto tab. There's a tab at the top of my website, and you can learn more and see if you're a good fit for that. Lastly, I wrote a book. It's called The Owner's Manual, A Guide to Sustaining a Coffee Roaster. And really it fleshes out the framework that I use when I work with clients, the core 7 that is. If that's something that sounds interesting to you, you can go to my website. There's a tab at the top that says book, and you can snag yourself a copy. All right, back to the show. One of the slogans that you as a company use is that coffee is about stories. Will you tell me the story of what happened in 2011, I think it was, at Santa Maria de Jesus in Guatemala? What happened there? What's the story of that?
Yeah, I mean, that story goes back, honestly, to like 2005, man. I know that I've talked to you about this as far as most people start their business on the retail front and they move backwards, and sourcing is sort of the last thing they do as they look at profit margins and ways to scale and make money, whatever. But we started the opposite. The first thing we did was know coffee farmers because of some friends that worked in USAID health work in that village. One of our friends invited one of the other owners, Les, down. She was like, hey, you guys, at that time, he had like started a small cafe up near the University of Cincinnati. She was like, hey, you guys serve coffee. You should come meet a coffee farmer. And he was like, cool, that's fine. So travel to Guatemala at that time was extremely cheap. So we went down, met this guy. And then we spent from basically 2005 to 2011 figuring out ways to get his coffee and his neighbor's coffee to the US and roasted somehow. So, and that was before we ever even thought about owning a roaster, much less creating a Deeper Roots brand. We were trying to figure out how to crowdfund. We had like an art show where we also used it as to like crowdfunding for the import fees, like all kinds of weird stuff. Having our friends locally roast it. And actually at the time, Ryan, who used to be Madcap, roasted some for us. Ryan Knapp. So we had a bunch of people around trying to get that coffee here. In 2011 is when we were like, you know what? At this point, most of us are finished with university or a few years out. Do we want to create this entity where we're like, because we were training baristas, we were doing machine sales and maintenance. We were trying to get this coffee to the United States, all in these weird nonprofit arms around the city. Like, what if we just bring it under one for-profit roof, purchase a roaster, and then start being able to hold the quality control piece of that guy's coffee ourselves, and then try to grow a brand from that instead of some nonprofit arm. So 2011, the direct answer to your question, is when we were like, we're doing this. But that guy's story goes all the way back to 2005. I think 2006 may have been the first import. So next year we're celebrating the 20th year of that import relationship, which is wild.
So you were just importing it and then selling it to other roasters in Ohio or just around the country?
Yeah, I think we only were ever the importer on record like once or twice, because that is a colossal headache. Yeah. We were getting it imported and then paying almost like a white label fee, only no one was white labeling it. Like Madcap would be taking the green. We would sell them the green. They would roast it, put it in Madcap packaging, sell it back to us at wholesale pricing. And then we would try to sell that to multi-roaster cafes. We did it with Madcap. There was another roaster around here at the time that did it, and some others. And that model was just like clearly not working. Too many change of hands and razor thin margins between distributor and wholesale. It was wild. Yeah.
But you still buy coffee from them 20 years later.
Yeah, we still do. And now what's wild, man, is like when I was going there in 2006 through 2010, 10, like before we started Deeper Roots. I got to know his family and his kids. I went there on a service trip one time with some people to like dig a hole and build a water management cistern in this guy's dirt floor, basically, at that time. But now the guy has like full on poured concrete house on top of that cistern. Wow. They roast their own coffee in their little porch area. It's kind of all enclosed now, where they run a little cafe out of. Now his son, who used to be a little kid when I started going there, is now kind of running the show on the wet mill side of things. So it's just I don't feel that old, but then when you see things like that, you're like, man, I'm not 25 anymore, you know?
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's beautiful. And that kind of leads into something else that I was thinking about with your roaster. You've stated that you're in your pursuit of good, there's 4 sourcing values of relationship, quality, environmental responsibility, and transparency. I'm just going to read a little something here. You summarize your sourcing values by saying, baked into the DNA of Deeper Roots is a desire to have fair economic exchanges between us and the people we buy coffee from in countries of origin. And I'm looking at how you articulate that, because that's super aspirational, and a lot of roasters have something of that nature on their website, right? But you go into this super clear explanation of what this means to you. In short, our values around Deeper Roots Direct Trade, DRDT, center around relationship, quality, environmental responsibility, and transparency. On the relational side of DRDT, we rely on a long-term relationship built on trust. This means that we have had the relationship with the producer or producer groups for more than 2 years, and requires us to be on the ground, visiting in person at least every 2 years. The importance of having boots on the ground, sharing meals and stories, and walking the land with producers can't be measured, and is critical to fostering open dialogue and trust between each other. Relationship also means sticking with people through hard times. When our producers see an off year in quality due to environmental causes outside their control, we agree to keep purchasing from them for that year. We also see the average age of the coffee producer is increasing. Keeping a relationship with the producer or community allows for conversation with the next generation to hopefully lay the groundwork to show incentives for younger farmers to keep the family business going. The reason why I'm reading that very long paragraph there is that is a story of you and your company actively doing what you say you're going to do. And this is why I wanted to have you on here. But I've got to ask, how did you develop that thinking around sourcing and your values around that?
I think it came from probably 2 sides of the same coin. One, as far as an asset-based approach, it came from thinking like, oh, well, what is relationship? Separate from coffee. Like you and I, Luke and Adam, know each other. What does our relationship look like? It's dialogue. We see each other at least once a year. We're checking up on each other. We're trying to have coffee with other friends when we can. And it's not like, hey, Luke, what's your best thing? Sincerely, Adam, please send fast. I may pay. Well, we'll see. You know what I mean? Like that's not so. And then the negative side of that, just since I call myself a realist, but some people may see it as pessimism. But the negative of that is that we just saw a lot of people saying, we're doing direct trade, we're doing relational this, all those like little words that popped out in the 2010s, especially around direct trade. Then you would see like, okay, well, your importer plopped you on a plane and you went down there and you got like an Instagram picture of you and your homie there, but you never had that coffee before. You may never have it again. Or maybe you have bought it for like 5 years in a row, but there is no relationship. You just buy it from the importer. And there is nothing wrong with that. It's, in the sense of
you have to buy it from an
importer. You have to buy from an importer. And if you solely rely on the importer-export relationship to get information through, depending on your volume, like not everyone's Stumptown volume. Not everyone is Stumptown or Atelier, whatever, can come in and be like, let's try this. And everyone's like, okay. So you may be dependent on that. And there's nothing wrong with that. The issue for me was when people were greenwashing, making it seem like they had the boots on the ground. They were doing the thing. We were always of the mindset of like, well, everyone's talking about this. If we're going to say it, we have to do it. So, okay, what does that mean for us to do it? So we have to define it. And if we're going to define it, then we have to keep track of whether or not we're doing it. To answer your question, it came from an asset-based approach. What is a relationship? But it also came from this desire to like kind of buck the system and be like, no, if we're going to call this a thing, no one else is clearly defining the thing. I don't want to say no one else. Like Intelli did a good job of defining what direct trade meant for them, but no one in our space of our size was. So we were like, if we want to be at this Intelli level, I keep bringing up Intelli because, at the time that was like Intelli counterculture. We were like, that was our vision of that level, that quality. What are these guys doing? Are they actually doing it? What does it mean? So we need to be performing at that level.
I appreciate what you said. You had to define for yourself what it meant. And because nobody else is going to define it for you. And there isn't a clear definition out there. How long did it take you as a company to formalize this is what it means for us to call this a direct trade coffee?
Probably 5 or 6 years to like lay it out, because initially we were like, you mentioned that relationship with the guys in Santa Maria de Jesus. It's a project called La Armonía Hermosa. In our mind, we were like, La Armonía Hermosa is like, that's direct trade. It's like, well, it absolutely couldn't be more direct. We pre-crop finance their harvest. We do a lot of the logistics stuff from afar, but that can't be the bar, and everything below that is not. Because if we had to pre-crop finance every direct relationship, we wouldn't have any money. Basically twice a year we would be bankrupt. So that can't be so what is it? And to your point, no one's going to tell you what it is. There is no certification like organic. It either is or it isn't. So for us, it was like, okay, well, La Armonía Hermosa is beautiful. If we could keep doing that, that's great. But since we can't, we need to lay it out. Like what's a sustainable way? Can we get to places every 2 years? Yeah. Some places we get every year. If we're only going every 4 years, is that, Lord, that's a long time between things. So it 2 years felt for us like, it's an investment. Having it just be 1 or 2 people doing all the traveling for your company, doing that every place every year just wasn't financially feasible for us early on. So every 2 years felt sustainable on a business side of things, but it took probably 5 or 6 years to be like, okay, we're not buying just spot coffees anymore, and not everything can be La Armonía Hermosa. So what's sustainable for us moving forward?
Thanks for sharing, because it takes time to actually do this and to build a model. But I also think that it's important that you understand the time investment that it's going to take for you to define as an owner, how long is it going to take me for me to actually outline what does it mean for our business to source directly, or whatever word you want to use for it. So thanks for sharing that. It is an investment.
And the hard part is when you're setting up your definitions and you're like, crap, a couple of these don't meet these criteria, or one for sure does, but won't till next year, another full year of like working with these people. That's when it's hard. You're like, Steven from West Kenya is my homie, but we're going to need another year of buying before we can put all this out, as far as like what we would consider a direct relationship. But in the meantime, we can market the heck out of Steven's coffees and tell what we're doing, but we're not going to put this seal of approval on it. You know what I mean? So
what have there been any coffees that you stopped buying because it didn't line up with your approach?
There was one in Honduras that we bought and visited, but bought for many years and visited as regularly as we said we were going to. Though we lead with relationship, quality has to be there, right? We can't just have nice people coffee and it be all bad. It's got to be, we lead with the relationship, but quality is going to be there. And the quality, the thing that can kind of give, because it's an agricultural product. We know that it's going to get wonky on some years, but in the cyclical dialogue of harvesting with this farmer through the exporter and importer and him in a conversation, we're just noticing the quality it keeps going down. We want to lead with relationship, but if you're not if you're just phoning it in and you're not invested in quality coffee, we're not on the same team. I would love to keep buying from you. You're a nice guy, but if you're just kind of throwing in the towel and trying and hoping that now you have a market for your coffee, you're just going to phone it in. That's not what we're about either. We're not about increasing quality forever. That's unsustainable.
There's a ceiling at some point.
There's a ceiling. Yeah. So, but, and I would expect our producers to have the same expectation out of us of like, guys, you're not doing well marketing my coffee. You keep buying less and less every year, even though your brand is growing every year. What's the deal here? It just became evident that he wasn't in for the quality, to the point where the last year, the exporter came to us and were like, because you want his coffee, we'll export it, but we have no other reason to export this coffee. Do you want it? And we were like, well, we've had this conversation several times, so I guess not. Yeah, so that was unfortunate, but it's few and far between, man. It's thankfully.
Yeah. And it sounds like those conversations are long. They're not like a one season thing. It's happening over years, and it's an open dialogue back and forth between the two of you of here's what we're looking for. This is what we're seeing. Let's talk about it. Like, is something happening at the farm level that can we support you in some way? And if it's not being reciprocated, then there's nothing else you can do.
No, totally. Because if it is like an infrastructure problem, let's talk about that. Like, we have grant-based programs for that. So let's chat about that. But if it's just like, I'm not really into it, then that's a different, it's different altogether.
Yeah. This is connected to sort of economic stability and resilience. And I know that's one of the things that you're focused on as a person on the green side of things. So what does it look like for you in practical terms to support the producers that you work with and help them build economically resilient businesses without becoming sort of a white savior and inserting yourself in a negative way?
In short, I think some of it is just trying to do my job well. If we're growing as a business and our volumes are growing and we can buy more and we can give appropriate quality feedback because we've cupped for 20 years, we're doing all we can in that feedback loop, quality feedback loop, to give the farmer whatever info they need. It's up to them to make the changes or not. So in that sense, it's not like a top down, hey, we need to see this, we need you to do this, because then like you said, that gets really white savior really quick. Or it's a bit how we message the coffee. If we were messaging in our marketing like, oh, look at these poor coffee farmers in rural Rwanda, they need our help. Like, come on.
It's not what we're doing here.
They probably don't need your help. Yeah. If anything, they probably need you to leave. But if we're doing our job well, we're creating a market for their products such that if something ever were to happen to Deeper Roots and we fold, they have a marketable product that they don't necessarily need us for. They can use their exporter and importer, whether it's Europe or US, relationships to get that product to someone else. So the white savior thing becomes null if you can sever the dependency. They're not dependent on this nonprofit's yearly grant thing. It's incumbent upon them to run their business well. It's incumbent upon us to run our business well.
Crucial. We got to run our business well.
Yeah.
But if we fold, they don't need us. How do you see that playing out? Is it just the relationships that you're connecting them to with export partners that y'all work with, or what does that look like for supporting them?
It's export partners, it's agronomists in country. That whole network of agronomy is a thing that I'm admittedly a bit clueless in. I don't work in that. Like, people go to university and get master's degree for agronomy. But if I know agronomists in that area and us through the exporter are connecting them to this network, then I'm out of the picture. It's like them and the exporter doing the work and kind of letting them know, like, yo, if this exporter, we work for this exporter because we trust them. But if something happens in the future and this doesn't work for you, there are other exporters. You're not dependent on this. This is not the only person getting coffee out of your country. Yeah. That's what like the dinners and beers over the campfires are for. It's just like riffing about that stuff and talking about difficulties on their side, difficulties on our side, such that them and us get a more holistic picture of what's going on.
What I hear in that is you see your role as sort of an integrator or a connector of parts of helping people, just spreading the connections, opening the doors for, hey, do you know this person? They might be a good connect for you that perhaps they wouldn't interact with.
I mean, I would like to think That I think probably more credit should be to exporters and importers on that. There are full stop exporters and importers out there who are just needing to move coffee, and that's what they're in the business for.
Right.
But most cases where you see things going really well, it's because there is an invested exporter and an invested importer helping with that work. As much as I want to think that me as a roaster can help come into rural Popayan and like connect this agronomist, it's almost certainly going to be the exporter who gets in on that work, you know? So as much as I'd love to think that I'm that guy, I think I have a role in that, in that conversation, in helping build the market on the state side of things. And yeah, if we have some network in these countries, connecting them is really great. We just recently did some like networking, connecting with friends in Western Kenya, with friends in Nairobi. That's going to be super great. That's just from mutual friends, but that wouldn't work without my importing partner for that coffee. You know what I mean? So it's not just me. I hope I'm a good piece of that puzzle. That's what I'm hoping for.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, I do think that that's part of the role of a green buyer, is to understand you're a nexus of communication in some ways, and to understand that you're not everything, but you have connections that could help other people, and to not be so sacred with making those intros with folks that you trust. If you trust them, make the intros. It's okay. It's good.
Yeah, totally.
Your background is in design engineering, and I have to believe that has informed your approach towards your work. Is it a superpower?
I think that there's too much trauma with engineering school for it to be a superpower. I think what it has given me is a general understanding of how things work. And since I'm practiced at the mindset of no one's coming to save you, you have to figure this out for yourself, that mindset is priceless in other parts of business that aren't so data driven or numerical focused. Things as simple as, I'm in rural Colombia. I just drank this sweet lady's drink that she gave me because I don't want to be offensive. I'm violently ill. No one's coming to save you. You have to figure it out, right? There's no like, you got all the way to your roaster is broken. You have to get it running or you can't make money. Go, right? There's no, I can't necessarily call someone and be like, can you come fix it? Like, I'm the guy they're calling, right? I think that sort of mindset is probably good. I don't know if that's like baked into who I am as a person, or if it's a function of engineering school, or just being an analytical person. I'm not sure, but I don't think it's a superpower. It is funny though. I've had like some of my business partners early days when we were having conversations with people, they would bring up that I was an engineer and that I left my engineering job as almost like they were trying to like, oh, this guy has credibility. He's an engineer. And then you would see people's faces be like, oh, and be like, trust, like, oh, well, yeah, this guy knows what he's talking about. And the whole time I'm just like, I don't know what I'm talking about.
You're like, I know no one's coming to save me. That's much I know.
Yeah, for sure. It's I'm sure it's the same as if you were to like go to school at Harvard. You could go to school at Harvard for biology and not really know anything about life. But if people hear that you went to school at Harvard, you're automatically going to have credibility for everything.
So I'm sure there's some hidden superpowers that maybe you weren't even aware of that kind of popped up out of nowhere for you. Makes sense.
There may be. You maybe need to ask someone else though. I don't know if I am. I don't know if I'd be the best person to ask about.
Yeah. I think it's indicative of how you think though. To your point, maybe it's just how your brain works. But I think that even the way that you structure how you source coffee and how you talk about it, comes from an analytical perspective of here's how, like you said, the way you begin talking about that was asset based. There's a structure for this that's very analytical.
Yeah, I heard a quote one time that I'm not saying I'm an artist, but I heard a quote that artists see the world through the lens of their medium, and I think that's true for whether you're an artist or whatever. If you video edit a lot, when you go to shoot video, you can sort of be planning the edit as you go. Or I'm sure it's very similar for podcasting. I bet you already in your mind have like 3 sound clips that you're going to cut. from this
Yeah.
conversation that I have
Yeah.
no idea, but you see in advance because you do, it's probably the same. It's like,
Yeah.
I think the world through this lens that I may not even be aware of, but that's just how I'm seeing things,
It's cool. It's unique, and it's what makes you special.
Yeah, we'll see.
You have 4 other co-owners, co-founders.
Yep.
How did y'all get together? That's a lot.
It's a lot, man. It's a lot. So one of the other co-founders I mentioned earlier started a coffee shop up by University of Cincinnati, and so that was one of them. One of the other co-owners was the first paid employee at that coffee shop. Me, I came through during university. I needed a place to volunteer for something I had through the university. I had to have so many volunteer hours in order to get the scholarship or whatever. So this coffee shop happened to be nonprofit, and I was like, oh, this is sick. I want to study here because it's not the engineering building, and I can volunteer here and meet my requirements. So I came through as a volunteer, eventually ended up being an employee there. And then the fourth guy, Ryan, just before we started Deep Roots, he kind of came back from living in Vancouver for a while. He worked in specialty coffee in Vancouver, came back, and basically was just on the ground trying to figure out who in Cincinnati is doing specialty stuff. And he encountered Les, who was the guy who started the coffee shop, and just kind of hung around him, thus me and this other woman, Courtney, and was just around, and then made himself invaluable. He had a sales background too. So we started doing the thing like, oh my gosh, Ryan's kind of a sales guy. Courtney she ended up getting her master's degree in human resource management. We have Adam, who's like the nerdy mechanical guy. Les, who's good at bringing people together, good at running business kind of stuff. Can we just like squish it all together? And then eventually through some early years of being involved with Cup of Excellence and going to, at the time, SCAA expos, we knew a guy from Cup of Excellence named John Lewis. John Lewis ended up moving back to Cincinnati, where he's originally from, for some family issues. And we were like, well, we have to get John into our crew. He is Cup of Excellence guy in Cincinnati. He's going to work in coffee. It's got to be with us. Yeah. The original 4 started the wholesale business. John came in a few years after that to help us spin up the retail business. So he was the 5th one that kind of came in and did that. And then all of those same people are the ones that went in buying the Tennessee crew that we did a couple of years ago.
So cool. It's so cool. I'm making an assumption here in this question, but how have you structured your ownership so as not to step on each other's toes and to create good boundaries around each other's roles?
That's a great assumption that we've done that. No, I'm just kidding. I think what's helped it, sometimes we still have to get together and figure out where the Venn diagram of my piece of sourcing, roasting, quality control. Okay, I'm talking to the roaster pretty regularly. Now, Courtney, who does human resource management, sort of operational stuff, she's having to get involved in the production room, talking to the roaster about certain things, operations. So we still have to come together and be like, who's this person reporting to? And sometimes it is like, okay, we are just sending a line in the sand. This is on you. Done. If you need help, call me. Otherwise, I'm going to assume that you have it. So I think some of that is just like, we sort of know our silos and we trust each other to do our thing. And by the grace of the Almighty, it's gone well for 14 years. But we've had plenty of people tell us like, this is not the way businesses are run. What are you doing? It's not without its hiccups. I think there's a potential like undue amount of trust that you need in the other people to do the thing that they say they're doing.
You found a way to blend 5 different personalities and approaches and skills and utilize them thoughtfully. And I think it's indicative of both your ability as a team to be flexible, but then also to lean into those strengths. And it's really awesome.
You're totally right. And I think a bit of the piece that has galvanized us together is this shared vision. There is no one of us that's like, let's spin off 15 coffee shops and franchise and try to make money. Like no one has, that's not crossed any of our mind. We all have this shared true north of like what success could look like. None of us are as strategic to think of like, well, we're going to be $50 million company in 25 years, or like, not necessarily. We've thrown stuff on the chalkboard just for fun, but that shared vision has really helped keep us grounded at least.
You kind of teased something happening in Tennessee. You guys acquired a business, yeah?
Yeah. So there is someone we knew with a roasting company in Tennessee. It just so happens to be one of our owner's father-in-law who started this, over 20 years ago. I think it's nearly coming up on 25, I believe. Wow, it's a long story.
Yeah.
The short of it is he came to us and was like, I want to retire. Mm-hmm. We had sort of bought coffees together, a couple in the past, but hadn't really connected a ton on things just because we were still trying to figure out what we were doing. But he came to us when he was ready to retire and said like, yo, I know that one of you guys has married my daughter, but like, this is not an obligation. I just want to give you the right of first refusal. I'm going to sell this company and retire. Do you want? So we, did the whole valuation thing, and he gave us a really amazing way for it to happen. So yeah, it's been, I guess September will be 2 years. And since then, that's been fully integrating all the back end stuff, like trying to do similar ordering systems, get them up to the current ways of doing QuickBooks Online instead of on a PC in a corner of a room, and just kind of like updating some things. My role has been fully integrating all the purchasing on the green side. They're admittedly a bit more old school. They were more old school when we bought them, of lots of flavored stuff. So we were like, okay, we need to set a trajectory of we're hacking these flavors off, then we're going to hack these flavors off, because that's how we're going to be doing. So we're not rebranding them to be Deeper Roots Tennessee, because they have a pretty strong brand and following there. We're just trying to modernize them. We just finished a rebrand project for them that we'll be rolling out over the next 6 months, integrating all the green sourcing stuff. Kind of runs through me now to just try to make things more efficient and try to move some delicious coffee through more parts of the Midwest.
How are you managing green across states?
I'm lucky that we have a massive warehouse here in Cincinnati. In 2017, we moved into this spot, and it's 40,000 square feet, which is...
Oh my goodness.
Oh, it's 30,000 more than we needed. Yeah, it's all ours. It's massive. Oh my God. You gotta come down. You gotta come down.
Can I warehouse some coffee there?
Yeah, of course. I got plenty of space. I wish we could say that it was pure strategy, but at the time we were needing to upgrade our space, and you could only buy 4 or 40. And we came for 2,500 knowing we needed at least 10. So we bought 40, because at the time in this area, we could buy it for, pennies, man. It was amazing. Wow. Put a lot of money into it, renovating that 10,000 feet that we needed, and the rest has just been used for storage.
Yeah.
So that's a bit of background in that. Now I can do a lot more door-to-door containers. If I'm building my volume plus volume from the guys in Tennessee into one, now we can move multiple containers door-to-door from farmer or mill, whatever, to our door, unload the full container, and then we will ship to Tennessee from us. But then there are other stuff that they get more that they've contracted through other importers that comes from Continental or Houston or whatever. Some of the typical ways of getting coffee, but they have a lot of their coffee stored in our warehouse in Cincinnati, which is pretty nice.
Yeah, that's really fascinating. I didn't know that. That's cool. So is the other 30,000 just like raw space?
Yeah, we've had to put a bit of money into it, especially where we store green, to make sure that there's no water ingress
control. Yeah.
So it's not fully climate controlled, but I set up monitors in there for temperature and humidity, and it's within the tolerance of what we need as far as specialty coffee is concerned. So that's nice. But yeah, it's pretty raw. We used to do all the machine service for all of our wholesale customers up until the last few years. We've actually worked with another company in Cincinnati and essentially gave him our book, and then have worked to try to benefit our customers through rebate programs and stuff. But he's actually now moved his business into our building. So he's rented a little bit of space from us, which is nice to have the guys who fix all the machines of our accounts in the same building.
That's awesome.
So that's cool. So there's, some people have rented space, and some carpenters have rented some stuff for tool storage. But other than that, it's raw storage, man. It's wild.
Yeah, that's super cool. What an awesome opportunity too for you to be able to have the grain come into your warehouse and then just ship directly from you. It's a way easier way of managing it than having to figure out like having coffee in different warehouses all over the place. Super smart.
Yeah. I mean, I'd say the plurality of the volume comes to, but there is still a bit of that warehouse management. Thankfully, Cropster exists, and I can manage that. But yeah, it is very helpful and cheaper. I mean, if we're talking about every time you send an email to release 10 or 20 bags of coffee, there's a palletizing fee, wrap and strap, all that stuff, shipping for that one. So now if it comes door to door, I mean, you still have the shipping cost, but now it's just shipping from us to Tennessee instead of New Jersey to Tennessee. Wrap and strap's free because I'm doing it. Yeah, it just lowers the cost for everything. I'd rather use that. It's pennies. It's 5 to 10 cents, but especially right now, I'd rather use that 5 to 10 cents to buy. Yeah, it really adds up. I'd rather buy a better coffee or send a quality premium back than pay for palletizing,
Yeah. So one more question about the acquisition. And I know this was sort of a unique situation because there was already some trust because there was family involved, but acquiring a business is daunting no matter what.
Yeah.
What would you say to somebody who might be overwhelmed with the concept of buying another business?
I hate giving answers that it depends because whenever I ask people questions, I just want them to give me an answer. But I mean that in the sense of it depends on the company's bottom line. If you're going in to buy a company because the guy wants to retire and he's giving you a sweetheart deal, if his books are garbage, don't do it. If his books are really clean and cost of goods look great, I mean, you have to do your due diligence on that piece. But given the assumption that you're doing your due diligence to analyze cost of goods, labor, waste, and you have access to that, if they're giving you access to it, great. If they're not, big red flag. But if they have given it access to you for that, and you've done the analysis and it looks good, I mean, then it's just sort of on your personality. Do you want to take on double the work? I mean, it is a lot of work. We have 75 employees in Cincinnati, and there's another 65 in Tennessee. Overnight, you have 65 people looking at you like, you guys now know what to do. What do we do? And we're like, whoa. we're learning too, so, but you can't necessarily say that. You have to come in with answers. So if it's your personality, go for it. Sure. As long as you're going to not go under. Go for it. Unless you just had your third baby and you need to be home more, maybe not. But that's why I would say it depends. I think it's a wise way if you're trying to grow your business to a certain amount. Yeah, you can keep opening retail shop after retail shop. It's really good for cash flow stuff after all the, opening the shop and paying for all that and equipment, all wipe that off. The monthly income, assuming you're making money from that, is great. But a way to like explode and like double your business is get another one. It has to work with your vision of where you want to go.
I've been saying this for quite some time that I personally wouldn't start a roastery right now, but I would buy one. I think I've shared that with you before. It's just so difficult. So I think that there's an angle where if you understand the business, and to your point of as long as you didn't just have a baby and as long as the numbers pencil out, it might be a good thing. Thing.
I would absolutely buy a roastery now versus starting one. I would not.
Yeah.
Boy. Especially if, and because a lot of that early not beating your head against the wall is building a market. And if the market's already built, you can massage the coffee quality. You can massage the roast level. You can rebrand. You can slowly chip away at work culture stuff and set that's stuff that you can do. But man, to do all that stuff and try to build a market and try to go to farmers markets it's a monster, dude. I mean, it's wild.
Yeah. I'm in the same boat. I think it makes sense. If the numbers pencil out and if your life situation is in a good spot. I have been aware of you for a very long time, but got really, really inspired by the way that you handled the tariff conversation.
Oh, yeah.
You were super public with, here's what our costs are. Here's what's gonna happen to you if you're a retail customer. Here's what's gonna happen for you as a wholesale buyer. This is how we're approaching it. These are some ways that you could approach it. And I was just really, really impressed by the way that you communicated about that and how you were thoughtful about it and trying to communicate your own perspective. But you also haven't stopped there. Even just a few weeks ago, you posted an update about here's what's happening with tariffs. There's apparently some new tariffs that might affect costs. So I'm just curious, what did those conversations internally look like for your ownership team?
Good question. Oh, it's been so long ago. A whole universe of things have happened since then.
Yeah.
The impetus for it was, and everyone who's ever had a business that sells things knows the freak out when you have to raise prices. Are my customers going to leave? Are they going to buy less? Are they just going to go look for something cheaper? Do I care? Do I want to try to hold them just because we're cost effective? Is that the kind of business we are? All these existential things. So our thought was just that the devil is in the details. It's the messaging. Everyone's complaining about all the prices at the grocery store going up. The problem is you don't have a choice. You have to go to the grocery store. But with coffee or beer or something, like, you do have a choice. So we just thought the beauty could be in the messaging, because I feel like what we want to do in our retail shops, in our online marketing stuff, is to make our customers feel like they're part of the story.
Sure.
Because they are, whether they buy into that or not, they are. So we wanted to bring them along with the journey. These are the things that we're going through. Mm-hmm. We can say that because at the end of the day, when I go home, I'm a customer too of other things, and my prices are going up, and I'm freaking out about that too. So I just have one layer up of insight into how this is going to affect us economically. Wouldn't it be cool to just tell people that? And I've always been a sucker for wanting to share information and stories about coffee farmers and things that people don't get access to unless you're in the world. I've always found that fascinating. We're going to have to figure out this messaging for our wholesale customers. Yeah. So why not also wrap it up a little bit, make some video that looks nice, put it out there, and bring everyone into that story. So it's not an us, them thing. We're all in this together. It's all of us versus whatever's happening to us. So just kind of just wanted to bring there. I don't think there was any like, oh, should we do that? I think everyone was like, yeah, that makes sense. We've always tried to do similar things with digital messaging when it came to years ago, when it was like the Black Lives Matter things and all the stuff that parlayed into. It's like, okay, well, like, we don't want to put anything that's apologetics as to why we're silent or not silent. We're just going to tell you, like, we support people. Here's why. If you see this from us or don't see this from us, like, whatever, but we support people. Here's information. It's sort of that's always been our posture, I think.
And I have to ask, did you lose any customers because you raised prices?
No.
No, that's right.
And the funny thing is we never do. Everybody always freaks out a bit, and we never have. And if anybody ever has left, it's because they're just trying to find something cheap. And
they weren't your buyer in the first place.
Yeah, for sure. Just like I'm not trying to find the cheapest green coffee, Yeah. So we haven't. No.
Yeah.
Thankfully.
Yeah. I've been beating that drum for years of when you raise your prices, you might lose one or two, but those were not your buyers in the first place. And if they're solely buying your coffee based off of price, they're not your buyer. And I literally this week went through a cafe pricing increase with a client, and I texted him the following morning. I was like, how's the pricing increase going? Anybody say anything? He's like, nobody said a single thing.
Yeah.
And it was a significant increase. It was not a small increase by any stretch of the imagination. And that's what happens. And so I think it's
Yeah.
important to popularize and showcase this is what happens. Roasters all over the country, when you raise prices, you don't really lose buyers, generally speaking.
Definitely. I think what it also did was kind of made us put our money where our mouth is when we said, this is not a margin play. Like, we're not trying to get more margin out of you. This is not padding our bottom line.
This is to stay alive.
It's to stay alive. And if you believe in that, then you'll participate in that with us. But it also made us put our money where our mouth is, in that, like, this is just a surcharge. When this surcharge goes away, I can charge less. I do not mind, because essentially most of our stuff goes through a market price calculator anyway. I'm just going to delete that out of my code, and it's going to be cheaper next year. I do not mind that. But we had some people saying, like, oh, well, when prices go up, they never come back down. It's like, well, I hate to tell you, buddy, but, like, I'm just not going to keep charging you for something that I'm not being charged. Like, it's pretty simple math. Like, it's either in the equation or it's not. I do understand that sentiment, but it also has been incumbent upon us to like, well, this coffee was cheaper this year, so we're going to have to, it's just, then as we go to update our website or how our wholesale customers order, our internal people will be like, this price is different than last year. It looks lower. Is this right? Yeah, we don't, it's just a tariff.
we got to talk about this. So how are you pricing coffee then? Is it strictly just cost, margin? That's it?
Pretty much. And for all the market price stuff, for sure. So you'll see stuff that we buy year after year. That price will fluctuate year after year because we have a whole matrix that we put things through. And it's the bag cost, it's the labor cost, it's the gas for the roaster, it's all the stuff. And for a time there was the tariff in there, and now there's not. So now blends we tend to try to keep the same and not have those fluctuate.
Sure.
Because people go to blends for consistency, not only in flavor, but also because of price. But what that means is that there are times when that blend may get a better margin than other times, but those other times are just subsidizing the times when I'm eating it. You know what I mean? It
flattens out in the long run.
It ends up averaging it out. It's our job to make sure that is flat and that we're not losing money, or that we're not unnecessarily overcharging. But all the market price stuff, anyone with a single producer's name on it, or a cooperative, or however far back we can get, that stuff's all market priced. It is what it is.
It's very cool. That's how there's a few models that I use, but that one in particular is the baseline that I use is whenever we're working with a client on pricing, we got to start there. And because as long as you're covering your costs and you're making margin, we're good. Now, if you want to get creative and add some other strategy into that, that's fine. But I think that's super smart, especially for those coffees that are single producer or single group that you're buying from. The best operators in the country are lifelong learners. So I'm curious, what are you learning right now?
Coffee or not?
Anything.
I'm learning about, I can't believe I'm saying this publicly out loud. I am learning about mechanical and automatic watches are made, and learning how to refurbish them and give them to people when I do.
That's so cool. Why? Why are you into it?
It's a great question, man. I don't know. Why am I into it? I don't know. I think it's one of those things that I like to do things that seem hard. I was also like, this also seems like pretty linear. I generally know how mechanical things work. Let's dig into it. Started with my dad had this thing that my great grandfather or something had, and it didn't work. And I was like, well, there can't be much to this thing. It's like this big. Let's dig into it. So then hours of YouTube lessons later, eBaying parts from the 50s. I'm like, I actually got this thing to work. Are all watches like this? Oh, it turns out kinda, pretty much. So, I just like getting into the nitty gritty. It's a whole world that you could spend your entire life studying. And I just I don't know. I like learn about it. It's something that I can hyper focus on, be a little OCD about. Yeah. That's one random thing. The other thing is just any endurance related sport I can focus. I usually just running and mainly cycling. Yeah. So I try to learn a lot about that because I cycle as much as I humanly can.
Yeah.
And that's always learning about human body stuff and weird. Yeah. Try to learn about
What
that
do,
as
what
much
are
as I
you
can.
what are you learning as it relates to the human body and endurance right now?
I'm learning that it's not all about going out and going as hard as you can all the time. I mean, I guess this is not new news. It's just one thing that I'm like trying to press
Mhm.
into it. It's a good analogy to think about since the race starts soon is the Tour de France. Like those guys are, are thoroughbreds. They're the fittest people in the
Mhm.
world.
Yeah.
But when you look at their power output or their maybe their heart rate would be a better thing to look at is when they go train, their 80% of their training is in like zone 2 where you could still
Mhm.
have a conversation while you're
Yeah.
pedaling.
Yeah.
And only 20% of their training is where you can't talk to them because they're in a different world. Whereas I used to think, like I just need to get out there and die every time that I ride my bike in order to get fit. Spending more time
Yeah.
at lower heart rates just to put in we call them zone 2 volume. And I
Yeah.
feel like that's a good analogy for life. Like most of life is
Yeah.
zone 2 volume. You're just
Mhm.
going to be doing a lot of the same stuff or stuff that's not super sexy or,
Mhm.
whatever that looks like for 80% of the time. And
Mhm.
20% of the time it could be Instagram worthy, but most of life isn't. So I've been thinking about that being an interesting analogous thing.
Well, there's a correlation in work too, because if
Totally.
you're always in what's the highest, was that 20% zone? What's it called?
Oh, like zone 5 or 4, whatever. I don't know.
Yeah, if you're always in zone 4 or 5, you're going to burn out,
Yeah,
and you
for
have to
sure.
save those little bits and understand this is a marathon, or this is a Tour de France. This is a long thing we're doing here. Zone 2. Zone 2 most of the time, save your energy for when you need to put your back into it.
Absolutely true. Yep. It is weirdly correlated between endurance cycling
Yeah,
and work or life for sure.
in life. Yeah, for sure. Okay, we have a closing tradition, and it is
All
to
right, here it comes.
share 1, 2, maybe 3 books that have been particularly formative for you as a person.
Anything written by Haruki Murakami? I'm a sucker for his magical realism stuff. I don't know why. I discovered him in like 2009, living in rural India, and he like changed my life.
Oh, wow.
What's the Chronicles of Narnia series? I think the last book is called The Last Battle. That book, even though it could be read by teenagers, or my son actually read it with me when he was 10. That was like I just found that be very, quite amazing. I actually ended up
Hmm.
getting a tattoo because of that book. What else? Oh man, I don't know if I have a third. I gotta have
It's okay. 2's good.
Jonathan Safran for, Extremely Loud and Incredibly Close. I'm a
Yes.
sucker for that book. I don't know what it
Yeah.
is, man.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
look at
Those-
that. Like on the spot, I came up with 3 books. I can't
I
believe
know.
that.
I've been putting you on the spot this entire hour, and here you
Yeah,
are. I love
I'm
it.
loving
I
it.
love it. I love it. Okay.
I'm still thinking about that hospitality thing, man. I don't know.
Have you never had a great meal?
Yeah, but like, oh my gosh, I feel like now, like, great meal and great hospitality so rarely go hand in hand. I mean, you can
Yeah.
have good hospitality, but something that makes you be like, oh my God, I'll never forget that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Probably not.
Yeah. That's fair. That's fair. I have so much I want to ask you about India and the tattoo, but we'll save that for another time. Let's say I own a cafe and I've fallen in love with Deeper Roots over the last hour. How do I sign up for a wholesale account? Who do I reach out to?
Ooh, info at deeperrootscoffee.com. That will go immediately to Sophie. She's great. And she'll put you in touch with Peter and
Yeah.
Sophie too. And
Yeah.
Peter and the other Sophie are amazing. They're
Cool.
Thank God for Peter. Whoo-wee. Yeah, he's
I
great.
love it.
He's wonderful. So info at, man, it's pretty easy.
Cool. Info at. I love it. And we'll put a link to that email in the show notes. And obviously you can go to their website and buy coffee too. So if you need some for the house.
Yep.
Adam, thank you so much for being an open book and for sharing about how you have learned to sort of develop your sourcing program through relationships and through a 20 plus year relationship in Guatemala that started before you even were in coffee. And thank you for sharing about your approach towards how you work with producers and for sharing about what it was like to buy a business. Super, super helpful and practical for folks. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Luke. It's always good to talk to you, man. You have great questions.
Likewise, Adam. As always, be well. It's Luke again. I'm back one last time with 2 questions. Number 1, did you learn anything from that conversation? Number 2, did you make a new connection, or perhaps there's a new question as a result of that conversation? If either of those 2 things are true, I'd love to hear about it. Go to my website, pomelocoffeeconsulting.com, hit the contact tab. There's a form down there. I'd love to hear what connections you made, what questions were answered, or what new questions you might have. Let's chat about it. As always, be well.